All right. Hi, everyone. Today is episode 19 of Art for Art's Sake, and we have Beth Robinson, my Alexander Technique teacher, and she will be leading us through some exercises to think about using our body more efficiently. I've taken private lessons with her in Alexander Technique a number of times, and it's helped me a lot with my violin playing and with just general walking and sitting and being. So I'm really excited to have Beth with us to share. She's actually I'm gonna be her guinea pig throughout. So I hope that you all will join us and go along with these exercises as we go along. As I said, this is episode 19 of Art for Art's Sake. This is a new virtual program from the St. Lawrence County Arts Council, where we're sharing local artists in our community and giving them the opportunity to share what they're doing. So if you're an artist and you'd like to participate in the show, please give me a call or message. I guess you can't really call me, but you can message me on Facebook or email me at director@slcartscouncil.org. Also, this whole week of programming is sponsored by Fraser Dealer Management Software. Thank you so much to Mike and Miranda and everybody at Fraser Computing for helping to support the arts in our local community. We really appreciate your support. If you are interested in becoming a sponsor, you can also reach out to me at my email address, director@slcartscouncil.org. Well, without further ado, I'm going to switch some screens around, get things moving so you all can meet Beth Robinson here. There's Beth. Hi, and we'll both go together so that I can be your student as we go along. If anybody has any questions, feel free to ask in the comments along the way. Beth, why don't you get started?
Hello, thanks for inviting me to share a little bit about the Alexander Technique. And thanks, Maggie, for offering to be my demonstration student. And a little more interesting than me just talking at you. Alexander Technique is a wonderful approach or system of self-care. We learn about our minds, our bodies, our emotions, how to have it all work together, because we have all three components of that with us at all times. And my thought about this, about today's little workshop, is that artists, well, we have the common denominator that we all have bodies, brains, and emotions, but we also have an understanding of process as well as product. And I consider Alexander Technique to be about process, how we do what we do at any given time. We can be thinking, we can have awareness at every moment. So I'm going to offer just a couple of examples and activities for you to experiment. One of the starting places when I have a class, when I work with an individual student, is we explore a very simple action. And one of the most common actions that we all do, most likely, is to stand and sit. Sit and stand and sit and stand. We do that over and over, often without thought. So while it may seem very indirect, the implications of bringing our attention to the simple act are very powerful. So Maggie, can I ask you, do you have to pull away from your desk a little bit or go sideways?
Sorry, I do just a little bit. I had muted myself, but I can get myself sorted, but here we are. Okay.
Isn't that funny? You just had to stand and sit in order to
I did, sort of. I was like crunched over while doing it, so that didn't work out very well.
Okay, it would be really helpful for me. Yes, if you turn sideways to the camera.
Excellent. Okay.
And we're all just going to watch you. No judgment, just curiosity. Let's see what happens when you go from sitting to standing.
Okay. Anyone wants to watch?
All right, and sit down.
I guess I won't move my screen too much more.
No. All right, now what I'd like you to do is maybe with your right hand, hey.
Got my little buddy.
Put your right hand behind your neck.
Okay.
Just as observation, and it's always challenging not to change something once you begin to observe it, but see if you can stand the same way and see what your hand notices.
Go like that a little bit. There.
And sit down.
Okay.
What did you notice?
I actually kind of felt my neck tighten up a little bit while right there.
Mm-hmm.
Little tiny squeeze, like I needed my head to pull myself up.
Yeah, so that's an interesting consideration. I think many of us do that, and whoever's participating could be experimenting with this also. So one thing that I've discovered over the years going through this activity is that our eyes have a lot to do with this. And I don't know how much it has to do with being a musician, where you watch the conductor come in, you stand up, sit down, or your eyes are on the music stand, but our eyes tend to be directed forward. So I'm going to ask you to use your eyes differently. So you're starting sitting. Let your eyes look towards your knees. Now, let your whole torso drop forward, pivot forward a little bit until you see your toes. At this point, you might almost be falling out of the chair.
Yep.
Okay, so then unfold your knees, which means push into your feet, straighten your legs, and as you come up, let your eyes go forward. Was that different?
Yeah, there's a lot more, I guess, pressure in my knees. Not really pressure, but they worked more.
Okay.
And not
So
really
that's
anything else.
okay. Now let's see about going the other way. Going from standing to sitting. One of the things I like to do is pretend I'm diving. Now, go ahead and put your hands over your head as if you're going to dive into the water. Let your eyes look at your hands and dive up and over. Let your hands then come and point to your toes and to your knees. And your knees will bend.
Where's my chair?
How is that?
I didn't know my chair was there until I knew my chair was there.
Right. It's a little scary, isn't it?
Yeah.
Where it is.
Thankfully, it was where I put it.
Okay, so how about if you do that again? Thinking about it. So we're just experimenting. It's not the right way, or that the other way was the wrong way. But you're teaching yourself. If you put your hand behind your neck again.
This weird little mat. Sorry, I'm kind of adjusting. Okay. Behind my neck.
And you start by looking towards your knees, then look towards your toes. Think about your heels this time instead of your knees. See if you can do less pressure on your knees. So as your weight pivots forward, you're almost falling off the stool, then push into your heels.
Okay.
Was that different?
Yes, definitely.
What was different? What do you notice difference in your neck?
Yeah, I feel like my neck was not involved really at all.
Okay, was there less pressure on your knees that time?
Definitely.
Okay, so now the same thing. Pretend that you're going to dive up and over. So it's not about going down. Go up and over, let your knees release forward, really thinking about your feet. And when you make contact, she didn't move the chair on you, did she?
I thought she did. She didn't.
I help her. So that's an experimentation.
Mm-hmm.
The starting place for a lot of our work is to say, can we let the neck be a little bit quieter? And often as we let the neck be quieter, other parts of the body work more fluidly. So it's easy to get caught up and get really rigid about it, but I like to make it a game, make it an experimentation, maybe a few times a day, say, how am I going to sit down this time? How will I stand up this time? It's not about getting it right, but it's beginning to observe. And you might start to realize I'm using much less effort. You could develop a habit of using less effort, then you have more energy for the things that you really want to be doing. So that's a great starter activity.
Yeah. Hand up, arms down.
Up and over. All right, so now that I have you sitting again, I would like you to think about your contact with the chair.
Okay, I've actually got your chair that I stole from you. And I'm never love it too much. Just kidding. I'll pay you for it. Your Alexander Technique chair.
What is it? Oh, look what I'm sitting on.
I love playing with these chairs. Like I love playing violin with this chair. Like I'll bring it to gigs. It's super light and easy, but it's also just the right kind of setup. Sure,
great.
It up to do homework today, so I said, well, I guess I'll sit on that.
Yes, I call it my cello chair. It's so easy to transport support. I love it because it's a flat surface. It's got a little padding. I don't care about the padding, but I love that it's flat. It's not really big, and it's a nice height for my legs. Oh, I'm using my chair. That's funny. So when you're on the chair, I want you to think about what is supporting your torso. A lot of times we have this idea that we have to sit up straight, tendency to overarch our backs, pull our shoulders back, and the undoing of that often is collapse. So we're going to be looking for a balance of tension. So Alexander technique is not about relaxation. It's about finding a way to use only what we need. So I like to tap into the bony structure or the skeletal structure of our torsos, of our pelvis, of our feet, our legs. So when you're sitting, do you see my skeleton over here? Your support is here, the base of the pelvis. Call it the sit bones. The sit bones are quite forward underneath you when you're sitting. So if you put your hands underneath, you sit on your hands. And when my students do this, they say, I'm really bony there. And you say, I hope so. You want
not that funny, but
the bones are there. You want to let your weight drop onto those bones. And it always surprises me at how forward those bones are in regards to my back. So if you go back to that idea of pivoting, like we did for this sitting and standing, pivot forward and back and forward. Stop a little forward of what you're used to being thinking of as being up. Is that different?
Yeah.
Do you feel like you're using more effort or less effort?
Less efforts, for sure.
It feels strange?
I mean, this is one of the things that I think about more often, like after having taken lessons with you for a number of weeks in a row, like a course of treatment in a way, it felt like to me. So this is one of the things that I think about more often, that I'm not like sitting back too much and slumping or sitting too far forward or whatever. Like this kind of centered balance it feels more natural now. But yeah.
It didn't at first.
No, it took a long time to kind of feel right.
So I notice when I remind myself of this, it's like an imbalanced, balanced position. I notice my breathing is better. So I don't know if you have noticed that.
Yeah, I don't know that I've thought about that. It feels like everything's where it should be. Right?
So that's your sit bones supporting you when you're sitting. And sometimes I think, okay, I know where my sit bones are, and I forget to think about the chair or the stool supporting me. So now that you have your sit bones, can you think about the chair? Does that give you a different connection? Like really think, I'm going to drop my weight into the chair. Maybe a little different, maybe
I
not.
feel bonier all of a sudden.
You do? So something shifted.
Yeah.
Okay.
Whoa.
So now you think about this opposition. You've got this nice connection to the chair. Let's find the top of the spine. The top of the spine goes up to this imaginary line from earlobe to earlobe. This is where the top of the spine meets the base of the skull. This is really helpful to find this out. And a great way to find this, it's going to sound funny. We're going to pivot our head back and pivot it forward. And what I'm going to ask you to do is to make a sound like this. And stop when your voice sounds clear.
When it sounds clear?
Yes.
I feel like I changed my mouth. Okay, I'm thinking too much. When it sounds clear, okay. Is that right?
And I'm going to say right. Does it feel different?
I don't know.
You can go back and forth a little bit more. You can do it faster if you want.
So I should be straight. I'm finding the place where my head is straightened out, where my spine is sort of straightened out, right?
Well, I'm always careful not to tell you what you're looking for,
Yeah.
because then you'll think, oh, that's right. And I'm going to try to do that every time.
Right.
This is a point of imbalance. I mean, if you could say it's a delicate imbalance, we're designed to move. If we go too far back, if we slump over and hold our heads back, we're compressing the larynx this way. If we tip our head too far down this way, we're compressing it, which means we're affecting our voice and our breath. This little discovery, it's almost like a bobblehead. Let your head pass through this point of support. I use that as a way to find where is that place where my head is just resting at the top of the spine. And we lose it and we find it, we lose it and we find it. I notice when I do that, I have a little more release in my lower back. And I have a little more connection to my sit bones and to the chair. So little activities that I do to rediscover. I have to rediscover it all the time. I'm never there. We're never there. We have our lives, we live our lives, and it's nice to come back to, oh yeah, this is my head at the top of the spine. These are my sit bones.
Yeah, I feel like I have, after more thought and processing it, perhaps, I feel like I have kind of hit that spot where everything feels right.
Kind of falling into place.
Right.
Right. So those are two introductory activities. They're kind of a standard, something I would do in both a class as well as individual lessons. So I thought that would be a great introduction. But now I would like to bring attention to two specifics. I would like to start with the hands, because artists of all kinds, we use our hands, whether for instrument, for me playing the cello, piano, visual artist, you're going to be using your hands for a paintbrush, pencil, pottery. Our hands are a very important part of what we do. So what I'd like you to do, I gave you notice ahead of time, and others who are participating, if you would like to do this activity, you need only a piece of paper and a pen or pencil.
Okay.
And what I'd like you to do is put it down in front of you, put the writing utensil down. Have we done this before?
I don't think so.
Okay. All right. So this is more for observation and discovery. What I'd like you to do is pick up the pencil or pen. What are you using? Pen?
Pen.
Okay. And just make some nice big loopy circles.
You can see it right here.
I can see your hand. And while you're doing this, I want you to ask yourself, first of all, am I breathing?
I think so. Yes.
Am I tipping my head? Am I tensing my tongue? Is my tongue squeezing against the roof of my mouth? Am I sticking my tongue out? We all have something different that we do. Am I pulling my shoulder in? Am I leaning over to the side? We have a lot of habits that we might not even be aware of. A little shoulder action.
All sorts of things in my shoulder.
Okay, now gradually refine the action, smaller circles. Oh, that was interesting. You went to just fingers. That was fun.
I'm a violinist after all, aren't I?
And what happens when you go from swoopy actions to squares? Something that requires a little more precision. I think your neck tensed up a little bit. I don't know if you could tell.
No.
A little something over here. That was interesting. And then triangles. Are triangles harder? It's your jaw. It's so interesting. It's very subtle.
Really? I have TMJ in both sides of my jaw. Like I have a jaw lock thing.
So isn't that interesting to say? Oh, something that requires a little more precision. There's a response up here. So that was interesting.
Okay, I have to watch this later.
Yes, you will. I mean, it's very subtle. I know to look for it, but so I think it's very interesting. Okay, what about if you write your name? Right, great. So put it down, put the pen down, and you think, all right, I don't need my neck to write. I don't need my jaw to write. I don't need my tongue to write. I've got all this space back here. Now, here's a fun challenge, and it will be interesting to see if your expectation changes. Use your non-dominant hand.
Okay.
So what do you expect from your non-dominant hand?
Absolutely nothing.
That. Go ahead, non-dominant hand. Big swoopy shape.
Oh, I have to hold the paper. I don't know how to like use it.
So that can be useful. You have no expectations.
Yeah.
Okay, gradually refine the shapes a little smaller. And you ask yourself, am I breathing? Am I tipping my head? Am I leaning in? Am I using more effort or am I using less effort than I did with my dominant hand? What if you go to write to make some squares? Any expectations?
My brain has to like work a lot harder with this one. It feels very remedial, but that's okay.
And what about triangles? I see almost a look of panic on your face. Okay, can you write a word or write your name? Yep, so
Yeah,
your
technically,
expectation is it's showing up in your face. So it doesn't matter how it looks. There, that was beautiful. I saw this calm here.
yeah, as long as I told myself to do that.
Okay, so this time we're going to approach it a little bit differently with your dominant hand. What I'd like you to do is let your hand rest in your lap or on your leg with a palm up. Notice if you have the palm up that it might invite a little open right here. Does that feel different for you?
Mm-hmm.
Now let your fingers, wiggle your fingers like this. Wiggle your fingers to bring your hand off your leg and then rotate just the hand. So it's not, no change up here. Now let your fingers go towards the pen. The same, using only what you need. Go ahead and then go back in big circles and say, I don't use my jaw, I don't use my neck. Doesn't matter how they look. Look how free your arm is. Right now you have no expectations. And what about if you make those shapes smaller? What if you think about the pen being an extension of your fingers? If you're doing this without the pen, would it be different? Does that change it for you? And then squares, say just an extension of my fingers, no unnecessary effort. And triangles. This is so calming. And what about writing your name? Great. So tell me what you noticed.
Actually, the first thing I noticed was that I can't look at my own image. Like that's not something I'm used to with our usual lessons. But I felt like I could actually use more of my arm, but like in a more relaxed way, perhaps. Like I could use my shoulder, but not more than I needed to. Whereas I feel like I was actually stopping myself from using my shoulder before. Or like, that's why you said, oh, you went right to your fingers, because I did. I just went shoulder and then just went like, I got to go small, so I have to constrict everything. So
that's a great observation.
Yeah, I was a little more relaxed throughout the motion.
So I would call it availability. I mean, I that's the way I see it. I mean, you stayed calm here. But everything you said, that's a great description of the changes that you experienced. What about the density? I'm just curious. Does it look different?
I was kind of drawing over the same area. But I think that I was pushing less with my pen.
Yeah, okay. So those are indications that you've done a familiar activity with less unnecessary stress. And you made some discoveries along the way. It's like, wow, this becomes available and fluid rather than the constricting. I think the word you used was really great for that.
Mhm.
So that's something for people. We all do things with our hands. Things to consider. Oh, it's beautiful. So I like the idea. We started with our hands palms up because that invites us to stay open and available. And then leading with your fingers, let your fingers draw you to whatever you need to do. And I think you and I experimented that with a bow too, imagining the bow being an extension of your hand.
Could use my pen, I suppose.
It's
If you want.
good practice. Saying only what you need. And the way that you started out small is great. And then you can keep the small, bigger, bigger. Everything is following where your fingers are drawing the bow.
Mhm.
Because that's what you're doing, is you're drawing it.
Right. Yeah.
All right, thank you. So how are we doing? Do you have questions, or does anybody have?
Let's see if anybody's got questions for us. I don't see any right now.
Okay.
Just keep on moving along.
All right. Well, the other thing I'd like to do is share a couple of eye activities. We spend so much time, at least I do, with my classes and my students, an awful lot of time on screens. And these are not activities that I've developed. It's more from attending a variety of workshops. One of the things that I consider, or that I've learned, is that our eyes are really made for three-dimensional living. And so much screen time becomes two-dimensional. Often it's very much in front of us. So become focused to this little square in front of us, or rectangle in front of us. So I would like to offer a few ways to rest our eyes, give them a little three-dimensional communication or information. And a good way to start, let's see, what can we have you do? Can you back up a little bit? You could do this. Maybe you want to stand up. You said you can raise your screen. So a nice activity here is to consider, we have the vision in front of us. And when we wear glasses, I wear glasses sometimes, and the glasses give us focus of what's in front of us. Can you see without your glasses?
No.
Nothing.
Pretty much nothing. You can see something if it's right here, but
Okay.
bad eyesight.
Well, yeah, I have different eyes, so I get that. What I'd like you to do is to frame with your hands, frame your peripheral vision. So when you have your glasses on, I don't know if that's going to be different. You know, maybe your hands will be really close to you. Can they go farther out? So your eyes continue to be directed forward. Say, if my eyes are directed forward, what are you able to see? No expectation of seeing clearly, because our eyes are directed forward. And your eyes are trying to follow.
I'm moving my eyes. No, I'm not doing it right.
So think about, why do we have peripheral vision? And it was one of the workshops I went to talked about, this is survival. It's like, it doesn't matter what we see. If you think about hunter-gatherer, movement, my way of saying it is movement. It's either dinner or I'm dinner. You perceive this movement here, so it gives you important information. It doesn't matter to see clearly what it is initially. So I just think that's an interesting thing. When I'm becoming aware of what's peripheral, I'm not trying to focus on anything specifically. Do you notice that?
Right. I think that's why my eyes are actually wandering with my eyes, because I'm not focusing on something specific.
Yes.
It's harder for me to actually relax my eyes and not look at something specific.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're very used to focusing.
Mm.
So that's a way to begin to rest your eyes, to start to soften up. We call it soft eyes, letting them think about less about seeing or looking, but receiving information. We do not actually see with our eyes. The brain, the receptors for the vision are in the back of the brain, which still surprises me. So I think of my eyes being like windows rather than I see with my eyes. So as I change that language, I change what's going on with my eyes. Another activity we could try, let's see. as we talked about this, could you turn and face your window? Yes. You got the wonderful painting behind you. That's an option, but it's very close to you.
It is.
So people participating, if you want to try this, this is a nice way to rest your eyes. Go to a window and begin by just receiving. Think about your eyes as being an extension of that window, not necessarily naming what you see, but you receive color, shape, shape and form. Artists probably see this way already. Movement, stillness. So you're receiving stimulus. It's getting the three-dimensionality. It's distant. Maybe you're seeing it clearly, maybe you're not. That doesn't really matter right now. While you're receiving this input, what's in front of you, what's peripheral, while you're receiving this information, allow your face to soften. The muscles around the eyes, I think of them as circular. Well, I don't have a good description, but like spiraling away from the eye socket. Think about those muscles expanding, softening. Think about the density of the eyeball. It's like a little marble. Let it rest, or think about it being cradled by the muscles in the eye socket. As your eyes soften, your face softens, your jaw softens, your tongue softens, your feet drop onto the floor. You really get a sense of the floor supporting you. How are you doing?
Great. I was on an uneven surface.
Okay. All right. Okay, so
I have dry eye, and I feel my eyes like moistening, sort of like not like crying or anything, but just like I feel the moisture in my eyes in a weird new way.
Is it getting lubricated? So that's good. We want that.
Yeah.
So what I was going to ask you to do next, so you've received this information, it doesn't matter what it is, but kind of getting this distant stimulation. Now, find the horizon line, whatever you decide is the horizon line in front of you. And then gently, continuing to direct your eyes towards that horizon line, gently bring your eyelids together. So your top eyelid until your eyes are closed. Continue to direct your eyes towards that horizon line. So your eyes will be closed, but still have this intention. My eyes are directed towards the horizon line. And let the weight of the eyes feel cradled by the eye socket, softness in your face, breathing. And when you're ready, let your eyes open and see if you're still directing your eyes. Sorry about the dogs. Very noisy. Let your eyes come open. Are you still directed your eyes in the same place?
Maybe a little lower at first.
A little lower? Interesting. Are my dogs too loud?
They're busy.
It's
okay.
Somebody just walked by, obviously.
Oh.
So you notice your eyes dropped down a little bit and then they went back up. Okay, the dog's going by. All right. Okay. So I think that's an interesting thing, how our eyes move, even though we're thinking we're looking at something, that there's still drift away.
Mm-hmm.
It's another way, though, to rest your eyes, to not care what we're seeing, getting rid of the need to focus. And then one more thing to do, I talked about bringing your eyelids together. You could do that, bring your eyelids together and think about giving your eyes a hug. That's a fun one. So it's not squeezing really tight, that's tension. But really let your eyelids come together and think about them embracing your eyeballs. What a crazy thought.
Yeah, because at first I felt like I needed to say like, relax. They were kind of like twitchy a little bit. And then, so that might've been why they dropped a little bit more. But when you say that hug, then I can close them without them twitching, I guess.
Yeah, okay. So these are just little things I've done over the years, and I think they're nice. Just give our eyes a break from having to see and take care of them a little bit. Blinking, that gentle blinking, several times, especially with the dry eyes and all the screen time. That gives the lubrication to your eyes. We need that. Do you want one more thing, or is that enough for today?
Sure. Yeah, one more thing sounds great.
Okay, this will be you demonstrating again. A little bit more with your eyes and the back of the neck, and bringing everything back together. Now my dog wants to get in. I'm sorry.
I had to feed mine early so he didn't bug me because his food dish is right here. The things we have to deal with at home.
Right. Okay, so I'm going to ask you to put your hand on the back of your neck again. Now look to the, how about if you look to the left?
Without moving my head.
Well, let's see what happened. Well, you're already thinking, you're planning it.
I'm either too good a student or a terrible student.
Right, so often if I think I want to look to the left, I yank my whole head around, my neck tenses, and my eyes stay in the same relationship in the eye socket. So I'm turning my head to see something to the left. Mm-hmm. And we can see all the tension in your neck. So now we're going to go back to what you just did initially. Say, okay, I want to look to the left. Let your eyes go to the left as far as they want to go. Now let your head follow. Much less tension. Can you tell?
Absolutely.
Your hand is there as your feedback. You are your own teacher. That's why you have your hand there. So you could tell there was much less tension.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Now I think this next one is just really fun. And I'm going to I have something to demonstrate with. Ooh. I don't know if it will work or not. These are a prop that I came up with. Okay. Imagine this. I should draw, and there's a dog bone. So let's say that's the eyeball. No, not the eyeball. There we go. So this is the head. If you turn your head, you can say, I'm going to look. No, help me turn it this way. There's the eye.
Oh, there you go.
That's your face. Okay, we're going to turn your face with your eye. You're going to turn to the right. Notice when I do that, the back of the head goes the opposite way. So what we're going to do now is, instead of leading with the eye, do what you did. Let your eyes go. Which way you're going, to the right now?
I can go to the right now.
All right, now think about the back of your head rolling to the left. Like somebody put their hand on the back of your head. Did that change it? Mm-hmm. What did you know?
It's like my forehead and my whole body's moving, but when it's just the back of my head moving to the left, it's a lot calmer.
Yeah. So I think they're great experiments to discover I can do so much less for an activity that I would generally just wrench myself around. And initially it seems overwhelming. In my experience, I was like, I just can't think of all of this at once. But keeping the current language of let's pause throughout the day, can we say, I will pause. Give myself a few moments to explore, to find my sit bones, a few moments to think, I'm going to look with my eyes and let the back of my head go the other direction. I'm going to pause and think about letting my hands lead. I cannot think about it all day, all the time. But I can pause and say, this time when I sit down, I'm going to think, can I do it in an unfamiliar way? So these little windows of stopping throughout the day, quieting our eyes, is cumulative. So it's about the process, back to being artists. It's about the process. We practice, we practice, we practice. We're never done. Nothing is ever perfect. But I think we do have an appreciation for the process, and treating ourselves with that same appreciation, the joy of experimentation. And what else can I learn? What else can I discover? Still saying, oh, I never thought of that. Now this feels easier. And then I'll forget, and then I will rediscover. Always coming, I like playing Bach suites, coming back at it year after year after year, thinking, oh, now I understand it. And then a few years later, oh, now I understand it. And our first instrument is our body. So we have that same opportunity to treat ourselves that way. So that's what Alexander Technique does for me. So thank you.
And I so very much appreciate you sharing this with us and I haven't taken a lesson with you in a little while, so I try to think about it every once in a while, but it does kind of float away. So it's really nice to get back to it and start my mind thinking about these kinds of things. You often teach at Trillium Yoga Center, right? Usually when we're all.
I have for a while. I did a few this year, and then well, right now we're not doing any in-person lessons. I teach it at SUNY, and so it's all remote right now. And I have done I've started doing a few remote Alexander lessons. There's a whole community of, well, all Alexander technique teachers now have had to, like everyone else, just rethink how we do something that used to be predominantly hands-on, hands-off.
So you are giving lessons at this point, and people can
Yeah.
reach out to you if they're interested in lessons and things like that.
Yeah.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing this. I mean, I almost think of it as an art form in itself. So I really appreciate you sharing your talents with us. It's helped me in my violin playing and just everything that I do. So I really appreciate that. If anybody's interested in reaching out to Beth, I can share your contact information on this live video. And this has been Art for Art's Sake, episode 19 with Beth Robinson. Join us tomorrow. And thank you to Fraser Computing Fraser Dealer Management System, I should say, for sponsoring today's show. I'll see you guys later.
Bye, thanks.